Hey everybody, it's Leon with Wide Awake Productions. I have got a head cold and I wanted to do this film, and I was in bed by 10 o'clock last night, which is New Year's night. Hoping to feel better today, but I'm not feeling very good. But I wanted to make sure I got a chance to say to you, hope you had a great Christmas and a happy New Year to you, and thank you for following. I really appreciate, that secondary video on Deep Thoughts. I think there were 78 of you that shared the video. I really appreciate that. Feel free to share this one. Subscribe to my channel, YouTube channel, or click like, or click the little bell so you can get notifications of new videos that I'll be doing up. I reiterate three things. I'm not here as the academic, I'm not here as a professional. I'm in the trenches with you. I'm going to be as raw as I possibly can for you, and hopefully as you continue to watch this channel, you'll really pick up what I'm trying to put down in regards to how do you live your one and only life. Is it okay to be your one and only life? And I don't have all of the answers, and I'm not here to be anybody's guru, but I want to be in the trenches with you because I am in the trenches with you. Life is pretty complicated for sure. The second point is this is about a movement. In other words, as you own your life more, people will start to see that on you because you'll be a little less crazy than most people. And one time I did a video and I said the crazy thing about being crazy, and I have to let you guys know this, is we're all crazy, is that you don't realize how crazy you are. That's how crazy craziness is. And the more you come back to yourself, the more you're going to really realize that, holy smokes, I've been playing a game with myself for quite a while. Not necessarily you, the adult, but this little wounded kid we have inside of ourselves. So keep that in mind. The third thing is, before you do anything in regards to personal development or coming back to your sense of self, the number one rule is you have great worth. Whether you feel it or not, doesn't matter at this time. It doesn't change that you don't have value in your life. That will come down the road once you start really understanding that you've always had great worth. Part of today's video is about helping you understand how you lost that great worth. So I wanted to thank a lot of the new viewers who came on board on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook channel. I want to share a little bit. Some people have been asking about sponsoring me or supporting me financially. I'll mention that down the road a little bit. There's some controversy going on with Patreon right now. If you're not familiar with that, you may want to check that out on YouTube, especially if you have a channel. So what I'd like to talk to you today about is what's called primary emotions. And a lot of times people confuse emotions with feelings, kind of like a coin in the way. Coin meaning that heads, tails, but it's still a coin. So feelings and emotions, they're the same thing. Well, they're actually not the same thing, and I'm not going to be too academic here for you. And the reason for that, some of my academics will say, well, geez, that's kind of pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty lackadaisical description. Well, I don't want to go into clinical terms with you instead of leaving you with a good emotional idea about certain things, because I find that I and most people retain it better. So when I talk about emotions and feelings, and what I'm usually discussing is, and I'll mention this to you if you're in the courses, you've heard me say this, which is feelings are in the mind and emotions are in the body. Sorry, I'll be coughing a little bit because of my cold. Given to me by 10 beautiful toddlers. They gave them to their parents, and now they shared them with me for Christmas. Thanks, you guys. Anyways, so when we think about feelings and emotions, you'll notice a lot of times when you're feeling things, what happens is you go up into your mind and you start thinking about what you're feeling. And that's why we say that feelings are in the mind, is usually they have scripts attached to them. And a lot of times those scripts are trying to interpret why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Now the difference between that and emotion, which is in the body, especially what we're going to talk about today, which is called primary emotions. Primary emotions are different. They don't have a thought attached to them because you're too busy in the experience of them. I'll give you an example of like 5 primary emotions. Fear, anger, sadness, disgust, and joy. And if you ever watched a child who's really angry, they're not thinking about being angry, they are just angry. Give me my dolly back! That kind of stuff. I don't like you! They're just right in it, right? Or when they have joy, they have this huge belly laugh that comes over them, and us adults just think it's the most cutest, patutest kind of thing to hear little kids laugh, because there's just such a it's called vitality, spontaneity, and creativity to their laugh. We do this Mickey Mouse kind of laugh as adults because we become so serious with our lives, which is more like just, ooh. It's kind of the same with sadness. I don't find most people actually have their sadness available to them as a primary emotion. They have hurt and wounded, sorrowfulness available to them, but that's usually a feeling. And down the road, I will explain this even more for you. So today, what I would like to talk to you about is about primary emotions. And primary emotions, the reason why those are so important is they're a programming system that we're born with. And what they're wired and designed for, to keep our sense of self solid about ourselves. Another way is they keep out outside influences, which can be emotional influences, thought influences, and experiential influences separate from our sense of self. So as we develop as young little kids, what we should have is a boundary there and an understanding. So I'm going to kind of break this down into 2 particular videos. Now, why is this important? Well, let me give you a bit of an example. If you've ever been driving down the road at one point, or maybe you were out on a walk, and all of a sudden you thought about something you did in the past, you did this style of behavior. Jeez. Do you ever have that happen to you? You're driving down the road, suddenly you think about something you did in the past, you go, oh, jeez. Now there's something that happens. It's just not that you had a feeling with a thought in your head, because you're obviously reflecting on whatever the experience was, but your whole body actually went right back into a sensory perception of itself in that form of, jeez. Okay? So that's kind of one example of that. As I was driving down the road, I would reflect on some things that I had done in the past, and literally this jeez feeling would come over me. This condemnation, this negative declaration, this judgment, this accusation, this guilt. Now, I know I'm using words, and those words are in my thought processes, but what I really want to focus on is I'm also using an emotional reaction, a physiological reactions in my body as I reflect on those those experiences I did in the past. And I did it hundreds and hundreds of times until one day, it's like God said to me, He waited for me to do it, and He said to me, what is that? Which made me ask the question, yeah, what is that? What is that makes me, when I'm driving or thinking or reflecting, and all of a sudden just goes, geez, what is that? So let me help you with that a little bit. So the first example I'm going to show you, and some of you guys who've taken the courses and that, you've seen this example, but it's good to use it, and that way you can get into acting it out yourself, and you can show other people this kind of scenario. So remember when we were little kids, and we were probably about 8 months old, say. So we don't have the cognitive brain available, the front part of our brain. What we have is the primal part of the brain, and we're starting to develop the emotional part of the brain. And everything is very primal, meaning I get my needs met primally. This thing comes into the room, that's called your mother. You don't know her as a mother because you don't have that part of your brain developed. All you do is you have a certain resource available to you. And what that resource is what's called like a camera lens. You know, you look through this camera lens and you're looking up and you're on your little chair. As you're looking up on your little chair, there's a pattern that happens when this tall thing comes in, called your mother, and she does this little choo-choo thing, called feeding you as you're on your high chair. Here I am in my high chair. Oh, this is going to be great. And why is it going to be great? Well, it's going to be great because every other time this has happened, my programming system with my primary emotions kicks in. I'm not thinking about it, I'm already in the experience of it. So you guys have seen kids do this. So here you are and you're coming around and say, if you're watching me right now, I've got the spoon and I'm doing a little adult parent talk to you, here comes the food. Now little Leon loves blueberry, banana, cinnamon baby food. That's his favorite. Ooh, it's his favorite. So he's coming up to him and he feels really awesomely great about it, and he goes into what's called primary joy. And you've all seen this with little kids. Primary joy looks like this. This is gonna be awesome, right? You guys have seen that with little toddlers, right? When they're not toddlers, but babies when they're on the chair. They are just ecstatic. Now they don't know what the heck's going on. Like they don't have a caught. They're not thinking about this whole event. They are in the experience. So my primary emotion comes up like this, and I'm all excited. And Mom comes up and she goes, "Choo, choo, 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 choo," and it touches my lips, and I'm all slavitating, and I'm just and just drooling down my face. But this is a great time. That's what's happening in my neural net pathways. So that's been programmed now, because that's happened every single day, 3 times a day, or depending on what my feeding schedule's like, and it's always been a good experience. So my visual camera is panning out, all the resources coming into my brain tells me this is a good pattern, and my body goes into joy because there's a great payoff when I taste those flavors, touch my lips, and into my body. Okay, so there's the setup. Now, same thing happens one morning, but what little Leon doesn't realize is unfortunately it's been a really tough time for Mom this month financially. And she's had to really pinch her pennies and dimes. And so what she does is she can't afford the regular brand name of blueberry, banana, cinnamon baby food. So she goes to the Looney store, which is a discount store if you're not in Canada. I'm not sure what you might call it in the States there, you guys. But and she finds the same stuff, but a different brand name. Okay, so you're watching that. So what ends up happening is little Leon sitting in the chair, same thing's happening every time. Now I want you to watch my body language when I do this, not that part, you guys who've taken some body language courses with me. But so here it's the same thing. I'm just looking through my resources, which is my camera lens. I see this object come through. I hear the auditorial cues. Mom's really hoping there's something going on. I just want to point out here too, because I can sense the environment. I know there's something up, but the reward of this is going to be something different. Why do I know there's something up? Because Mom's not too sure she can pull this off. And what is pull this off? Well, pull this off means that can I give Leon a different brand name without him having a meltdown, because she's probably burned out from having to manage 3 older brothers, which is a tough thing for a mom to do. So anyway, so she comes up and she brings it out. She does the choo-choo thing. I automatically go into my primary emotion of joy, which is, wow, this is going to be awesome. And then the next thing I know, it comes closer to my lips, watch my body language, and it touches my lips, watch what my body does. And I do this. Have you guys seen that with a little kid? As soon as it touches their lips, it goes. Now remember, I was in my primary emotion of joy a microsecond before that. As soon as it touched my lips, I went into pushing out with my tongue, moving my back out of this sensory perception I'm having. My hands go up to block whatever it is. This is all instinctual. As I try to push something away. Now, what am I trying to push away? I'm trying to push away something that is disgusting. Something that is disgusting. It's a primary emotion. Now, why is that important? That's 8 years old. Fast forward 28 years later, I'm a grown adult. I'm driving down the road. As I'm driving down the road, watch my body language. I think about something I've done in the past, and I go, fuck. You know, so my body language did. Do it again, driving around thinking about something I did, and I went, jeez. My head went down, my body formed an arc inside myself, and this condemning sense came into my body. Now, why am I pointing that out to you? Because something happened to me in my development and in my life that when on my primary emotion, which was available to me, my programming system, first programming system that my body's wired with, which happens to have those 5 primary emotion feelings in them, emotions in them, which are supposed to protect me. So when mom gives me something disgusting or I'm eating something that is bad, my body automatically goes to disgust, dispense of it. But something's happened to my body. Something's happened to that primary emotion. And what has happened is now I have become disgust. And that's what that feeling is. When you're driving down the road or you're going for a walk and all of a sudden this thing hits you, where you go, jeez, and you have a physical emotional reaction to it. That's your primary emotion of disgust that has now been hijacked. And you don't know it's been hijacked. You just now feel disgust about yourself. And how does that happen? Who would want to feel disgust about themselves? Well, there's a bit of a mystery there. All of this gets elaborated on, but again, I just want to give you some foundational stuff. So remember, you had a primary emotions. I just gave you 5 of them. And one was joy that I gave you, which looks like this. Woo! Celebration, right? Next primary emotion, when that happens, touches my lips, I go into great joy, because this is awesome, because my taste buds are giving me a reward system. The chemicals in my neural net are firing off and on. This is a good thing. And then as soon as that disgusting thing touches my lips, I know the difference. There's something up. I'm not thinking about it, I'm just reacting. I become disgust. Or that's disgusting. That outside thing is disgusting. And what's now happened, somewhere in that mystery between 8 months to 28 years old, I have now become disgust. And that's usually because my primary emotion of disgust, which is supposed to protect my sense of self, has now been hijacked. And it's usually by outside sources, which I'll explain in a couple seconds here. Okay, so we're going to go to the magic little whiteboard, and I'm going to show you some things and how primary emotions get disgusted.